Good evening, and sit more comfortably this evening. Spring is here, so welcome everybody. And so we basically, this is our question and answer or comment session that we didn't have a chance to fit in. You remember we were, we were at the end of our session, and there was just a few verses on Prema Bhakti, and the voices that piped up said finish, so we finished, and then Lakshmi was there, so that didn't quite go according to what I had in mind, but it was all good. So here we are. So what we'll do is we'll kick off, we'll do our invocations, and then we'll do the beautiful 8 verses, the Shiksha, so like Ashtanga, so Śikṣāṣṭakam. So it's Shiksha, which is Sanskrit for teaching, and then Ashta, which you know from Ashtanga, which, believe it or not, is a cognate with this is one of those Indo-European cognates. Sometimes cognates are quite interesting when you trace them back. So think of German Achter, it's a guttural, the K is a guttural, Achter became Saxon, and in English it would have been Eikta. Why is the GH there? It's not just for random reasons. Whenever there's a silent G, often when there's a silent G in present day English, if you put the G back, if you put the guttural back, and maybe you make the unvoiced into a voiced, you make the G into a K, you end up with German, which would have been Old Saxon. So Eikta would have been Achter. And of course, in Latin or Italian, occhio, otto. So the guttural gets dropped in Latin, and it goes back to some Indo-European form. So ashta, believe it or not, is cognate with our English word 8. Even though they look completely and utterly different, a linguist can trace their phonetic journey. The linguist first of all put the G back into the English 8, ekata, and then you start getting a bit closer to ashta. So anyway, that's a nice way of remembering the word 8. So just has, and which you would all know, of course, from the ashta anga. So here we have shiksha, ashta, and ashtaka means you just don't worry about the ka ending. So that's what we're going to be looking at, these 8 verses that are the only verses that Śrī Caitanya penned. And we have a whole course this semester on Chaitanya, and all of that's uploaded. If you're interested in this amazing story of just this extraordinary on steroids, that's probably not a very elegant way of putting it, lover of Krishna, Śrī Caitanya. The tradition actually says that he is Krishna reincarnating with the bhav, the mind of Radha. So that would be a theological claim, just like, a Catholic would say that Jesus is Son of God in some sort of way. And of course, there were so many controversies about who is Christ for the first 2, 3, 4 centuries of Christianity, until Nicaea, then eventually the theology of the ontology of Christ becomes established and becomes normative. So likewise, as claims made about the Śrī Caitanya, and the kind of orthodox position is that he is an incarnation of Krishna. Nonetheless, you don't have to worry about all of that. But the tradition accepts that really, whether he's just a great bhakta, a great bhakta, Parama Mahabhakta, right, the greatest bhakta, or whether he's Krishna, it doesn't really matter, because he comes to A, spread the chanting of the name of Krishna. That's kind of like what he came to impart to the world, and B, to demonstrate what love of God looks like. So if you read the story of Chaitanya, you read his amazing behaviors, his activities. So we get this sort of the sense of where is the highest the bar can be placed in terms of love of God. And Śrī Caitanya exemplifies that. So if you want to check out any of those videos, they've all been uploaded. We still have another 3 weeks, and it's in the on the website along with the other videos. It will be called, I don't know, Chaitanya or maybe it's called Bhakti. I forget what it's called. Okay, so Chaitanya didn't write anything other than these 8 verses, but he taught Rupa, whom we spent our 6 sessions together reading one of Rupa's many, many tomes. You saw the size of it. Mary, hold it up to the camera. I mean, this is one of the many tomes. Let me just pin you. All right, so that's a good 600 pages right there. And he wrote volumes like that, Rupa, and his elder brother, Sanatana, volumes. And then their nephew, Jiva, volumes and volumes. And between the 3 of them, they established the canon of the Gauḍīya Vaishnava tradition. From that time, all right, so Rupa and Sanatana directly received the teachings from Chaitanya in many sessions. So Chaitanya was an amazing philosopher. In youth, he was a logician, a Nyayika, studied all Vedanta, but that never came. But so other than when he's teaching Rupa and Sanatana, and other than when he's conversing with the impersonalist Advaita school of Vedanta, other than that, he's not, he's not really, his persona is, the example he's giving is not that of a philosopher, but of a insane lover of God. Insane in the sense that his behaviors and physiological symptoms are so extreme. I know nothing like that in any literary tradition, where your arms become dislocated from the force of prema, transferring from the mind and permeating the whole body. Okay, tears, hair standing on end. That's, I won't say normal, but somewhat normative, but entire limbs either becoming completely dislocated or contrarily shrunk into the body. So it looks like a lump of flesh. And you read some of these extreme physiological symptoms that when prema is so because the body isn't designed to cope with those kinds of mental states, that it just exhibits this bizarre physiological reaction to it. So it's really fascinating to read the story of Śrī Caitanya. And if you want to follow along with at least the discussions on that, you can check them out on the website. So some of you are in that class. I know Ellen up there is with us, and Pamela, and some of you join, and you're always welcome to join our Ruckus classes. But you have to be sort of flies on the wall, because obviously we have to respect the students who pay for it, get 3 credits. And hey there, Eileen. All right, so we're going to read the 8 verses, and then this is our really our question and answer session, and then we'll pick up another Svadhyaya. I don't know, in the summer or the fall, and we'll do the Bhagavatam. So let's start with our invocations, and just put ourselves at the feet of our teachers. We're all students. There are no gurus. There's just students. We're all students. That's the other wonderful thing about the Chaitanya Charitamrita, how the humility of these amazing bhaktas, the just sheer humility that they exhibit, really present us with role models. So we'll look at one of those verses, which is the one that I'm really committed. I'm really setting an intention to focus on, verse number 3. But let's get there. Okay. So Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamin Ite Namane. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. When we chant these invocations, the bits of the invocation are sort of like building blocks to help us conjure up to create a mental deity. I know you've heard me say that before. So the Patanjali Sutra, so you think, okay, Abahu Purushakaram. So you're really meant to envision that, a being who is Abahu, who has the Purusha Akara, who has the form of a human, but only Abahu, up to the waist, and then you have a Shankha and a Chakra Asa, and you fill in and you create this image, just like If you were creating a deity made of marble, you go down to Jaipur. There's whole the alleys there. There's a whole sort of section of Jaipur where they make the deities for all of India and international as well. So if you go to a Hindu temple in America and you'll see those marble deities, the vast majority are coming from Jaipur. That's where they come from. The marble quarries are there and so forth. In Makra, in a place called Makra in Rajasthan. So what does the craftsman do? He takes a bit of marble, and that's what he creates the deity from. So but you can create deities from anything. Bhagavatam speaks of 9 things, but there's no reason why you can't extend those. And one is samskara. So you're creating a deity of a samskara. So if you say abahu purusha akaram, all right. So and what's the idea? If you make a deity from marble, well, everybody knows it's marble, but once the deity is there and installed, if you then interact with that deity with bhakti, then its bhakti attracts Ishvara into that form. Why not? And you'd have heard me say this before. It's a bit like transubstantiation in Catholicism. I think that's the nearest sort of theological cognate that we have in Western tradition. Transubstantiation. If you're Catholic, you'll know exactly what that means. So if there's no bhakti, then it's no different from a marble statue of Emperor Nero in Villa Borghese. It's just inert statue. So likewise with the deity made of anything else. Could be a picture. You could have a humble little picture in your kitchen, a little shelf, and it's your Bhagavan. But if you interact with that picture, I think it's called lepana or lekana, then Bhagavan manifests. Bhagavan is attracted by bhakti. That's how we attract Bhagavan. So another deity is made of mind stuff. So when we do the invocation, we're making a deity from mind stuff. Abahu purusha akaram. So now you conjure up a mental image, right? Obviously, you can only use the samskaras you have at your disposition. So you create a being that's half snake and half human, according to whatever your aesthetics are of snakes and humans. You're going to make it with the best possible samskaras you have at your disposition, just like a deity maker is going to use the best possible marble that he can find, and a painter is going to use the best quality paint, the best canvas, because that's what bhakti is, offering the best. And if you're a bubber on the side of the sacred river, you make it out of sand. You make it out of sand. You got nothing. You're a bubber in a loincloth. So you get the best sand. Okay, there's a bit of sand, a little bit nicer sand on the other side of the river. You walk over the river and you get the sand, and that's bhakti. Okay, it's not the actual substance, it's the devotion. So when we do these invocation, that's what we're doing. We're creating an image. So try it. What do you have to lose? Akanda mandala karam yena vyaptam characharam tat padam darshitam yena tasmai Śrī Gurave Namaha. So I offer that to Haridas Shastri Maharaj. And I have, when I offer that to my Guru Maharaj, I have certain recollections that are strong and that are meaningful to me. So I may picture him sitting on his funky little, in the Goshala, in his old dhoti, and he's 90, and still he would go every day would go. He would bring laddu for the bulls, laddu, handmade in ghee. He would offer laddu, and he'd have these old buckets, and he wouldn't let you carry them for him, even when he was 95. No. He would carry them, and he would offer a handful of laddu each bull. So you have these images. So, and that's what an invocation is. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhur Nityananda Syatvaita Giradhara Shivasati Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha, Gopika Kanta, Radha Kanta, Namostute. Tapta Kanchana Gaurange, Radhe, Vrindavan Eshwari, Vrishabhanu Sute Devi, Pranamami Hare Priya. So that is an invocation to Radharani. For me, when I chant that invocation, what image do I conjure up? I conjure up the deity of Radharani in Vrindavan. That is the deity that is closest to my heart, and I bring that samskara, the memory, right? Seeing it so many tens of thousands of times, so it's fairly clearly embedded in my mind. And I bring that image up. Now, for somebody else, it could be something else. It could be a beautiful picture of Radharani, or it could be the descriptions of the gopis in the 10th book. That's why, have you noticed how repetitive it is when Krishna is described? And you may think, is that a literary flaw? Again and again and again, lotus eyes, he's got curly hair, he's got earrings like crocodiles, he's got a yellow dhoti. If you read the Bhagavatam, and if you're not devotionally inclined, you'd be like, all right, enough already. We get it. Sure, he's got the forest, but why are they repeating it again and again and again and again? Because you're supposed to internalize it, my friends. So that when you're not reading the Bhagavatam, you can bring that very, very strongly etched by dint of having read it tens of thousands of times, unforgettable set of characteristics of Bhagavan. You can then bring them up into the mind in the form of a visual or a mental picture that you then, what do you do at the end? Namaha. Okay, so this is what invocations are. They're opportunities to bring Ishvara into the mind and therefore into the Sangha. Because if we don't do that, my friends, then it's just our egos. Oh, who wants our ego? Oh my God, who do we? We're still afflicted by these egos. Who wants it? We're trying to get away from our own ego. Why should we care about somebody else's ego? So at least with these invocations, we hope to get off on a good start. Sooner or later, the ego creeps in. Don't worry about it. He's done that for infinite lifetimes. It's not going to let you go quite so easily. But at least we set the good intention. So, apavitra pavitro va, sarvavastha gatopi va, ya smaret pundarikaksham, sa bhayabhyantara shuchihi. So the 8 verses of the Śikṣāṣṭaka of Śrī Caitanya. And the first verse, I have a little preamble here. And an amazing thing about the 10th book of the Bhagavatam, it's quite unique. Because in Indian traditions, you have many different flows, but you have 2 very prominent flows of literary tradition with their own conventions, their own vocabularies, their own structures. The Vedanta one, which is coming from the Upanishads and then filtered through the Vedanta Sutras, which we'll do. We should all do that, my friends. It's not going to be, your hairs are not going to be standing up on end in ecstasy, trust me. But you need to do it. So at least then you can go in the world, you can go to your yoga studios, and if the word Vedanta comes up, you know what it is. So it's tapas. It's not going to be like Bhakti, which is wonderful and relishable. And Vedanta is a tapas. There's a tapas we all have to do, okay? So I'm going to do this for you, but it'll probably be, next year or something. Postpone it as long as possible. Stick with the Bhagavatam. So there is the Vedanta stream. And then there's a stream that I myself am not trained in, and I really look forward to engaging this after retirement, because this is just, and it's the rasa stream, the aesthetic literary tradition, highly developed. We know nothing of it in the West. None of that came over with 60s gurus or Vivekananda or any of that. None of that. This is an entire realm of literary exposition where the rules are not philosophical or theological, but they're how to construe the most exquisite poetry, poetic conventions, right? So then, things like onomatopoeia, things like double entendre, which is called dhvani, where the implied meaning is more sophisticated than the actual face value meaning. All of this is part of the aesthetic tradition, that you have to know Sanskrit. Forget about translating that. Vedanta you can translate because it's just clod hopping. It's just clod hopping. Okay, the world is real. The world is not real. Oh, God is a person. No, he's not a person. Right? You don't need any aesthetics for that. But you can do that in any language, But you could do it in Cockney, Well, what was this Brahman then? Is it a bloke? Is it a bloke? Is it a person, or is it impersonal? You don't need any aesthetic exquisiteness for Vedanta. But the literary tradition, you could never really translate that. The Bhagavatam is unique in Indian literary tradition. Let's use the term literature for everything, Vedanta, Nyaya, Yoga, because it blends the aesthetic, poetic skills of the rasa tradition, poetic tradition, with Vedanta. So you have this incredibly profound philosophical text. But when it gets to the 10th book of the Bhagavatam, because it's Bhagavan, you don't want to be talking about Bhagavan in in clod hopping language. You're a poet writing about Bhagavan. It's like an artist. You don't want to just throw a bit of paint and blue paint on the canvas and say, "Oh, I stick a flute on there. That's it. Oh, that's good enough. That's Bhagavan." Or you're gonna do the best possible painting you can. You're gonna offer your skill set in creating a musician or a dancer, whatever you do. So the writer of the 10th book of the Bhagavatam is an amazing philosopher, but deeply trained and schooled in the Kavya tradition, the poetic tradition, and it's unique. The 10th book especially, there's a bit of that in the previous books, but it's the 10th book where you have this confluence, just like the Ganga and the Yamuna, they meet in Allahabad, and it's called the Triveni because it's the third river which got, actually went dry 5,000 years ago. So the Bhagavatam is the confluence of poetic aesthetics and Vedanta. It's exquisite, my friends. And that's what I'll be spending the rest of my life on, starting pretty soon. So the first of these verses of the Ashta, and Chaitanya was exquisitely schooled in all these traditions. So the first verse, he cannot translate it, but it looks a bit ham when you translate it into English, but it gives us a glimpse at this aspect of Chaitanya's exposition. Let's see if we can get a sense of it. Okay, so the first of the Ashta, the 8 verses. May Krishna's Sankirtana, and it's interesting because Sankirtana now means public chanting. Kirtana means public chanting, and san even more strongly reinforces the idea. San means together. It's a prefix that you put on any verb or noun, and it gives a sense of togetherness. So if you san and anything, it could be kirtana, it could be kadana, eating together. But back then, you see the same term used. Japa, kirtan, and sankirtan are used interchangeably. You look at the life of Haridas Thakur to get a sense of that. So may Krishna's Sankirtana, meaning the chanting of Krishna's names, whether you're doing it in the street as Chaitanya did, that whole thing of chanting in the street, my friends, that obviously the Krishnas were famous for in the 60s and 70s, not so much now, at least not so much in the West, although a lot of that in the Slavic countries, you still see a lot of that with the Krishnas in the streets. So, but where did that come from? It came from Chaitanya. If you read the story of Chaitanya, he's always chanting and dancing, and whole towns and villages. I mean, it was amazing, the kind of just his potency, his prema, the symptoms of his love were so astonishing that people would just come and gape, and that prema, that bhav that he had, just flowed out and filled the minds of everybody. And then the whole of Bengal became Gauḍīya Vaishnava. The whole Bengal, today, Bengal, Orissa, and of course it used to be Bangladesh. This is all Chaitanya, and Vrindavan area. This is all Chaitanya Vaishnava. I mean, when I say all, I mean massively. So Sankirtan. Okay, so the tradition says Chaitanya came to spread the chanting of the names of God as the spiritual practice for our day and age, the Kali Yuga. This is the claim, that in this day and age, the most efficacious meditational practice is chanting of the names of God, Bhagavan. And we'll read a verse in a minute that will expand on that a little bit. That's the claim made not just by Chaitanya, but throughout the Puranas, throughout sort of the Smriti. And it goes back to the Upanishads, where you have Om. That is. Even Patanjali will say Ishvara tasya vachaka pranavaha. Even Patanjali makes the connection between Ishvara and Om. So I had someone write to me, just this morning about what meditation, this, that, and the other. And I replied and said, well, at least since the Upanishads, this has been, if you're interested in a meditational practice that's connected to the Vedic traditions. And early Buddhism the same, by the way. And even today, many Buddhist traditions with the chanting, Mani Padme Hum and so forth, it is the chanting of the names of Bhagavan. So take it or leave it, but that is, and Chaitanya, and I think even those who don't accept Chaitanya as Krishna or, other traditions, everybody recognizing the amazing nature of his prema. And I think most traditions would accept that the chanting of the name of Bhagavan is a process that all of us can do. You don't have to be a specialist in Vedic ritualism. You don't have to be a hotshot Vedantin or anything. Or who can't chant, the name of Krishna? We just had a story yesterday. We were reading in class about a hunter, and he was so cruel. And he would kill animals, half kill them, because he was so tamasic. He got a taste. He relished watching them writhe in agony. This was his sort of tamasic bhav. And Narada, the great Narada, came down, and immediately, he had Narada's effulgence and his presence was so incredible that even this tamasic individual could recognize somehow or other this is some kind of a saintly being, right? Through his own frame of reference, he had enough wherewithal to offer some kind of a namaha. And then Narada gave him a vision of, and this is the only, by the way, I'm sorry, I don't mean to deviate. This, we have a lot of prophecy. It's a major trope in the Old Testament. That's almost like how you recognize a man of God. If you're a prophet, that's kind of almost like a criteria. I'm not going to say in every case, but in many cases, especially in the Jewish tradition, it's the prophets. They prophesize, and that's how you display that you're a person of God. You don't get any of that in the Hindu tradition. There's none of that. There's you can get visions of your past life. Even Patanjali talks about seeing your past life. There's hardly any instances. Prophecy just does not play a role. But there are one or two exceptions, and here's one. And you may know one or two others. You never say never about Hinduism. You always find something. And Narada showed him after his future after death. All of those animals that he had half killed were waiting to inflict his karma on him with their claws and their hooves. And of course, then he freaked out and he said, how can I be saved? How can I be, please, what should I do? And Narada says, take the name of Ram. That's all you need to do. Just, give all that up, immediately stop. Okay. But, take the life of a sadhu, of a Vaishnava, sit on the banks of the river, live in a hut, take the name of Ram. But he was so tamasic, he couldn't say the word Ram. So then Narada said, okay, take the name of a woman, Mara, and chant that. So he could do that. Mara, 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 Mara. Do you see how it becomes Rama? Mara, 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 Mara. And in this way, do you know who that hunter became? I think I got this right. The great Valmiki. Okay, someone check that. Someone go online. Valmiki's past life. We'll see the hunter. His name is Murari. I may have got that bit wrong, but that doesn't matter. That's not relevant. So the point is what? The power of the name. But anyway, let's read the text. So, a Sankirtana. May Krishna's Sankirtana be supremely triumphant, meaning may it spread across the world. May it, this is the spiritual tradition for the Kali Yuga, according to the Puranas, not just the Chaitanya movement. This is something that I think many texts will support this. The chanting of the names of Krishna cleanses the mirror of the heart. This is when it says, whenever the texts talk about the heart, they talk about the mind. They're not talking about the flesh and blood. And why the heart? Because that's where the Atman and the mind are supposed to be localized, and then consciousness spreads from there around the body, and also the mind, carries consciousness along the pranas, actually. So why a mirror? Because the mirror can get covered in dust, but it can also be cleansed. So how do we cleanse the mirror of our minds? Our minds, right, are normally sort of a klishta. We're thinking of the desires of the whole time. We're fantasizing about whatever it is we fantasize about: fame, food, sense indulgence, sex, whatever it is. So our minds are klishta. They're covered with the kleshas. So how to clean that? And that is the chanting. Even Patanjali says, Tasivachika pranavaha, tajapa tadartha bhavanam. And then he goes on to say how that's part of the process of what does he say after that, Patanjali, in the verse after that? Then one removes all the obstacles. I think even that, you know what? Let me just check that for a second. That's relevant to what we're doing today. So it's important to make connections with texts that we're familiar with. So, it's not just a one-off thing. It's not just Chaitanya. We want to sort of try to, and what happens when we do right after Patanjali's to japa, right? Japa is the chanting of the name. Of course, he says Om, fair enough. To japa, tad artha bhavanam, keep that in mind. Tad artha bhavanam, we don't pay much attention to that. What does that mean? Contemplating its meaning. And what is its meaning? Bhagavan. And what happens if you do that? In Patanjali now, 229, Tattaha pratyak chetana adhigamo, antaraya abhavascha. We remove the obstacles. That's exactly what it says here. Cleanses the mirror of the heart. You can put it that way. You could say antaraya abhava, the removal of antaraya, things that obstruct you. Call them kleshas, call them whatever you want. Dust on the dust. This is the first verse is poetic. And then you can chetana adhigamo. You can approach the inner consciousness. Bhakti wants to approach Bhagavan rather than one's own inner consciousness, as we know very well from Rupa's Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. So chanting, my friends, if we're looking for a process of meditation, it's chanting. If we're tired of whining about, oh, I'm so miserable, I'm so depressed, I don't want to get up in the morning. When you get sick of that, how about get up and chant and do japa? And if we're not going to do that, then why don't we shut up and stop whining? Because this is the process of meditation that cleanses the mind from all this nonsense. I'm talking to myself here as much as anybody else. Okay, this is what Bhagavan and the Puranas and the tradition and Patanjali and Krishna have recommended as a very simple, anyone can do it. If we chant and we make that trouble, in the beginning it's tapas, then slowly the mind becomes clear. And when it becomes clean, then bhava can start to manifest. We have to do the work. And this is the process. It's easy. You take a name of Bhagavan that captures your heart. Remember, the name is the form. So if there's a form of Bhagavan with certain qualities associated with the form, Devi, Shiva, Narayan, Krishna, then you take the name of that manifestation of Bhagavan or Bhagavati. So the chanting of the name of Krishna cleanses the mirror of the heart. It extinguishes the great forest fire of samsara. Samsara burns. Our desires burn. We're always burning with these unresolved issues and desires, and it's a forest fire. It's dangerous. How do we get out of it? By chanting. Chanting pacifies the mind. Once the mind is a little bit clean, then Ishvara can start to manifest. All right, and this Śikṣāṣṭaka is going to tell us how to chant. Patanjali's Tad Artha Bhavanam. So here we get a sense of the poetic traditions. It bestows moonlight on the white night blooming lotus of supreme benefit. There's only one lotus that blooms at night. The rest all bloom in the day. So you see this imagery a lot when the gopis are with Krishna, then the white night blooming, because only the gopis are in the forest at night with Krishna. Nobody else is there. Everybody's sleeping. So this is a metaphor for the gopis in the 10th book, but here for the name of Krishna. So this is it's moonlight which causes the night blooming lotus to, unlike any other words or sounds or names or anything else, this one name of the name of Krishna, it bestows moonlight on the white night blooming lotus. So the lotus of love of God can blossom, right? So here is a sense of the poetic tradition. It gives life to the young bride of wisdom. We have some jnana, but jnana's dry. Jnana's dry without for the bhaktas. Jnana's so dry. Study Vedanta. Oh my God. They should package that and sell it in CVS as a sleeping tablet. Take Vedanta study and stick it in a pill. And if you have a problem, get to sleep. But they study Vedanta. We'll be doing it. We'll be doing that next semester. But it gives life to this jnana. When we add Bhagavan to all this jnana, is the world real? Is it not real? Is the soul an individual? Is it not? All of this, right, it's been going on for 2,000 years, right? More than that, all these different Vedantic points of view, it's given life by the name of Bhagavan. All of that somehow or other then suddenly becomes relishable and ecstatic. It increases the ocean of bliss. Remember, for the bhaktas, the bliss of the Atman is nothing. Remember Rupa? The bliss of the Atman, we also heard about Satchidananda, right? What is that? That's a reference to Brahman, that's a reference to Atman. That Ananda in the Atman for the Rupa, remember what he says? It's like the water in the hoof print of a calf, not even a cow. He could have said a cow. Maybe a calf, even smaller. The water in the hoof print of a calf compared to the ocean. Why? Think about it. If the Atman is a spark, an eternal spark of Bhagavan, like the Vaishnavas say it is, then think of a fire. And you have a spark from the fire. So the spark has luminosity and heat. But compared to the fire, it's insignificant. So whatever Ananda's in the Atman is insignificant compared to the Ananda of the form and the qualities and the presence of Bhagavan, my friends. So then why do you think the Bhagavatam keeps on and on and on and on, that the bhaktas don't want moksha, they don't want moksha, they don't want moksha, they don't want to be Svarupa Vastanam. They turn their back on that. They want Bhagavan. So therefore, back to this, and it's not going to open. So it gives life to the young bride of wisdom. It increases the ocean of bliss. It bestows the taste of the highest nectar, the highest. This is what rasa is. Rasa is not a term the Vedantins will use. Rasa, the hardcore Vedantins would say, oh, this rasa is all emotional, it's all states of mind, where we are, we want to go beyond mind. But the bhaktas are, they, for them it's rasa. Yes, it does manifest in the mind, and it's true, and then the body can't deal with it, so it just does weird things. And remember, for the Vaishnavas, the post-mortem moksha, after death moksha, is not Svarupa Vastanam, but it is to have an eternal relationship with Bhagavan, and you're given a spiritual form which is capable of dealing with these extraordinary states of prema. Our physical forms are not capable of dealing with it. And I always you've heard me give the example of an electrical appliance. If you take it to Europe, it blows because the current is different. And our American appliances are not designed to function with a European current. Not a very good analogy, but good enough. So these bodies are not designed, our minds are designed to perceive sense objects, record them, imagine we're enjoying them, bring them up in recollection as desires, have emotional states, engage intellectual pursuits. Our minds are designed in a certain way to function a certain way. They're not designed to deal with extraordinary states of prema and bhav. And so therefore, after death, the accomplished bhakta 100% then receives a spiritual form. And with that spiritual form then has eternal relationship with Bhagavan. Remember, Bhagavan manifests infinite forms. It's not like there's one Bhagavan and, trillions and trillions of jiva, where we're waiting for their, with the ticket number 1 trillion. Not like that. Remember the Krishna with the gopis, each gopi had their own Krishna, my friends. Personal, your own personal Krishna, whatever bhav you want, whatever you want. Your baby Krishna, baby Krishna. Don't go, you want to be a gopi, be a gopi. Whatever pulls you, that's free will. That's free will. The 10th book is kind of like, it's giving us a glimpse at what Goloka looks like, what the kingdom of God looks like. Vraj Leela, not the whole 10th book, first 37 chapters. It's giving us it's giving us a window into what does it mean to have a personal God and a personal relationship and a personal spiritual form. What does all that mean? The 10th book gives us illustrations of the sort of things that it can mean. So on we go. So it bestows the taste of the highest nectar. It cleanses the mind completely. My friends, if you're looking for a meditation practice, please consider japa. It's time tested. It's trans-sectarian. Surely that doesn't make it right, but surely the fact that something has survived 3,000 years, the fact that it is accepted by this enormous array of spiritual traditions that have emerged from the Vedic period, doesn't make it could all be wrong, but surely that gives it a little adhikara, a little sort of authority, a little something we can peg some faith on. So, and all of these traditions all stress the importance of the name. From the earliest Upanishad, Brahman is Om, Brahman is Om is Brahman, Om is that, you are that, Om, Om, Om. And the later traditions say, okay, Om, that's the seed. Let's grow the seed. Let's have Om Namo Shivaya. How about that? Let's have Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Seed is a seed, but how about we see what comes out of a seed? Put it in the ground, see what comes out. Beautiful trees, beautiful, whatever it might be. So then the later traditions take that Om and they say, oh, we really want to know what Om is. It's Shiva for the Shaivites. It's Vasudev for the Krishnaites. It's Narayana. And then you take that name. Try it, my friends. What else are you going to do? Except watch your hair go white. And then what? Wrinkles. Then what? Then whine. Oh, my back hurts. How about we use this human life and don't waste it anymore? Now, this is a beautiful verse. See how non-sectarian? Some of the Krishna traditions get pretty sectarian, but not Chaitanya. You have manifested many names and invested them all, and invested them with all your potency. There's no hierarchy of names here. You know, you get some later traditions that get a bit silly. They get silly. They say, oh, one name of Krishna is worth 1,000 names of Vishnu, is worth the X number of Shiva. Come on. That's not what Chaitanya is saying. Look at this. This is it. You have invested them with all your potency. There are no restrictions as to when to chant them. Obviously, better to do it Brahma Muhurta in the hour, in the morning, before the sun rises, but no restrictions. You want to be pucker, you take a shower, you go to the bath. Even if you don't want to do that, don't do it. Chant. No restrictions. This is coming from Chaitanya. The only criteria is absorbing the mind in them. It's still japa, it's still meditation, it's still a chitta vritti nirodha practice, my friends. It's still a chitta vritti nirodha practice. So the only criteria is absorbing the mind in them. Despite this grace of yours, that you manifest all these names and you invest them with all your potency, despite this grace of yours, O Bhagavan, my misfortune is such that I was born in this world without any attraction for them. And those of us that chant we get up in the morning sometimes and there's no rasa, there's no taste, it's sheer tapas. And that's the truth. Don't expect any magic wands, my friends. It's hard work. It's sadhana, but then every so often, then Bhagavan, and then all of a sudden we get a glimpse of the reality of the name. We get that moment of bhav, and then we know it's real, it's true. And then Krishna takes it away. Got to be 100%, my friends. In the beginning, you get a break. A lot of us oldies, we attest to this. In the beginning, Bhagavan gives you get all this nice taste. You feel, prema. It's true, it's real, it's true. And then all of a sudden, Bhagavan starts withdrawing because you've got to be 100% pure. You want to hang on to those illusions. Bhagavan is an all or nothing. It's all or nothing. There's no 50-50. Remember the 50-50. I've told you so many times. It's my favorite story of my own teacher. I'll never get tired of it. He always says, you're 50-50. Oh, it's a kuch nahi milta hai. Kuch nahi milta hai. Where's Snehi? Snehi's up there. I saw Snehi.
Hello.
Snehi ऐसा वो कोई 50 है आप लोग कुछ नहीं मिलता है इसका कुछ नहीं मिलता है इसको पूरा देना चाहिए. So okay, so on we go. Nice to see you, Snehi. Snehi used to schlep all the way down from New York City to Rutgers. Do you remember those days? Okay, so I was born in this world without any attraction. So now this is the verse for me right now. Everybody has. If you do Svadhyaya, my friends, there will always be a verse that is perfect for you at that moment or that period in your journey. And this is for me right now. And this is my, if I could, throw away everything else and keep one verse, it would be this one. I believe this is the key to the kingdom of God. This verse, obviously piggybacking on that one, on chanting, because it talks about chanting. This is the key to the kingdom of God. And I was talking to Mary just before we started, just like Christ says, it's harder for a rich man to get to the kingdom of God than for the camel to go through the eye of a needle. And I read that as not rich for being rich, but an arrogant person. Someone who becomes arrogant because of richness, or could be because of anything, right? When we're arrogant, we think we're whatever it is, beautiful, we think we're strong, we think we're rich. This is just as that is the key to the kingdom of exactly the same key. Metaphor is different. That was the rich man and the camel. Look at this. The name of Hari should always be chanted while considering oneself lower than a blade of grass. What's lower than a blade of grass? Bugs are not lower. Bugs can move around. Amoeba, it can move around a little bit. What could you think is lower? The grass has to just stay there and get trodden on and cut and urinated on. What creature? Remember, it's an embodied being. The Atman is the same as the Atman in you and me. So if you think about what is the most sort of kind of lowest in the sense that, you only have one sense, blade of grass, because you can't see, you can't hear, you can't smell, you can only touch, you can only feel it when someone steps on you. You have one sense only, and you can't move, you can't do anything at all about your situation. So one should consider oneself lower than a blade of grass. This is humility. And this is the mood. If you want to chant japa, if you wonder why am I chanting japa all these years, and where's this rasa, where's this bhav, where this prema I'm reading about, where are all these ecstatic states? Why am I sitting here and I just want to go back to bed? And my mind's all over the place. This is why. The name of Hari should be chanted while considering oneself lower than a blade of grass, more tolerant than a tree. Tree, you cut it, you cut it down, you whatever. It tolerates everything. Sun, snow, rain. This is the mood of a bhakta. Utter humility, my friends. As long as we think we're a big professor, we're a big pundit, we're a big yoga teacher, we're a big anything at all, we will not get the fruits of chanting. We'll sit and chant decade after decade and wonder, why is it I'm going nowhere? And then we'll say, whatever we might say. I can't do it, or it doesn't work, or whatever. This is the key to the kingdom of God. Chanting, considering oneself lower than a blade of grass. One should be free from any desire for personal respect. We know this, of course, from yoga, especially the Gita talks a lot about, rising above honor and dishonor and so forth, but free of any desire for personal respect. Don't we spend a lot of our time imagining people are disrespecting us and creating all these stories in our heads? But yet one should offer respects to others. And the beautiful thing about the story of Chaitanya that we're studying, and it's all, and some of those online, if you want to get a sense of it, is it exhibits not only Chaitanya's behavior, but those of the bhaktas around him. And one of the universal qualities of the bhaktas around Chaitanya is this deep humility. They're amazing beings, and yet they're shockingly, stunningly humble. One should be free from any desire for personal respect, but yet one should offer respect to others. Okay, can we read it again? Because I'm reading this for myself, my friends, because I fall so easily into pride. Really, that's one of my many especially being a teacher, and you think you have a little this, a little Sanskrit, and a little Jnana, and it goes to your head. So this is really, if we could all hold hands and really, forge on in life, reminding ourselves of this, then that's real Sangha. Then we're really helping each other. The name of Hari, right? Any of the names, right? Let's go back. Many names, invested them with all your potency. No restrictions as to when to chant them. As long as we make this Nirodha, the yatna, as Patanjali says, yes, bring in Patanjali. What's Nirodha? It is tatra stito yatna, something like that. It's an effort. You make the effort, tatra stito. You make the effort to fix the mind there. It's a yatna. You succeed or you fail. You make that intention, you make the effort, and that's the practice. That's abhyasa. What is abhyasa? It's Veda. What is Nirodha? It's abhyasa vairagyabhyam. What's abhyasa? Tatra stito yatna. The yatna, the effort, tatra stito, to keep the mind there. Okay. So therefore, that there are no restrictions. He says in 2, the only criteria is absorbing the mind. Right? Plug right here where he says absorbing the mind. Plug in tatra stito yatna, verse 1, whatever it is, 12. Patanjali, check it out when you get home. Okay. And then so you make that effort, but now notice Patanjali says tadartha bhavanam, keeping its meaning in mind. You can plug all of these verses into those 2 words in Patanjali. When he talks about japa, people, the yoga community, it seems to me, long-standing interaction, are not paying enough attention to this japa verse. and tasyavachaka pranavaha, and but especially this bit, tajapa tadartha bhavanam. Plug all of this into that tadartha bhavanam, keeping its meaning in mind. What is its meaning? It's Bhagavan. Who is Bhagavan? Supreme. Who am I chanting? I'm lower than a blade of grass. If we can chant, then we'll, even if we're Patanjalians, all of this can be plugged into that those two verses. Tasyavachaka pranavaha tajapa tadartha bhavanam. So one should offer all respects to others. Aren't these wonderful? I'm going to memorize. Eileen, do you remember we were going to, is Eileen still up there? Where's Eileen?
I am. Yes, I'm loving this because we never did it.
We never did it. We have to finish that. Right. Eileen was our MA student at Rutgers, and now she's doing a PhD at UC Santa Barbara. And I just I had to twist some arms, and I'm going to be on sabbatical next year, and hopefully Eileen's going to replace me. Eileen, that's going to be so awesome for your CV. But we'll talk
can't wait. I can't wait.
No, seriously, if you can show you've done 1 year proper full-time teaching, they're going to be so way ahead of the pack when it comes to job interviewing, which is the next, well, after your PhD and your dissertation, that time will fly. Your next big thing is going to be the job market, and that's right. And that is going to be, that's a whole other thing. All right,
but I want to memorize this first.
we have to do this. We said we would, and we have to spend, do a Zoom or something. Right, number 4. I do not desire wealth, followers, all this big guru, this guru, that. Chaitanya had nothing to do with that. These big gurus, all this guru bhav. Enough with all these gurus. I do not desire wealth. I do not desire followers. And beautiful women, obviously, for the ladies, that will be, handsome men or whatever your sexual preferences are. A beautiful partner. Let's just do that. I do not desire poetic virtuosity. Notice that's on the list. It was recognized in India, in Indian culture. If you were a poet, a kavya, and you knew the kavya shastras, the scriptures that dealt with poetic aesthetics, you were someone in society. None of that's come to the West. So here we remember what I said at the beginning. There are these two traditions. One of them is a erudite. Just like in our Western traditions, we honor our poets, right? We honor Shakespeare and Wordsworth and so forth. They take a privileged place in our Western, in our kind of our hierarchies, in our Western social hierarchies. So same in India. So I don't desire even poetic virtuosity, O Lord of the universe. I wish only for bhakti for you, Ishvara, that is without any motive. Remember, you don't want karma, you don't want material things, no gimme, and certainly you don't want moksha. Moksha is hell. You do not want to be Svarupa Vastanam, because if you're in a state of Svarupa Vastanam, you've now separated yourself from Bhagavan. If you're absorbed in your own Svarupa, then by definition, you're in Svarupa, your Rupa. What did the Bhakta want? He wants Bhagavan Rupa. He wants to be absorbed in interacting or beholding or having relationships with the Rupa of Bhagavan. Rupa means form. It means form. It means the sort of the form of something, the Rupa. So Krishna is his form. It's not that Krishna has a form. He is his form. We have a form because our Atman enters into a form. The form is not us. Not so Bhagavan. It's not that Bhagavan is in a form. Bhagavan's form is pure consciousness, and there's no difference between the inside and the outside. We have a difference between our inside and our outside. Inside, we're Atman, and outside, we're these bodies. And mind is also outside, the subtle psychic body, the Sukshma Sharira, the Linga Sharira. So there is a difference between us and our forms, our subtle and gross forms. And the whole goal is, what's the whole goal of Jnana Yoga and Patanjali? To experience your Svarupa and discard those forms and abide in your infinite eternal potential. So as we keep saying, the Bhakta doesn't want that, but don't think Bhagavan's like that, that there's some kind of Atman inside Bhagavan's form. There's a difference between Bhagavan inside and Bhagavan outside, the one that you see, the one that came into the world and spoke the Gita and engaged in Vraj Leela, don't think there's a difference between the inside and the outside. There is no inside and outside. It's all pure consciousness. That form is condensed consciousness. Just like Krishna says about the Atman, there's no inside and outside of the Atman. It's just consciousness. It can't be cut. Remember the very beginning of the Gita. Can't be cut, can't be severed, can't be separated, can't be spliced. There's no inside and outside. It's just consciousness. Well, Bhagavan's form is that, my friends. It's not that Bhagavan is in a form. All those forms are just manifestations of pure Satchidananda Vigraha. Satchidananda condensed. Jiva Goswami calls it condensed, whatever that means. Condensed consciousness that takes these wonderful forms. If God is going to be perfect, God has to be beautiful, my friends. Has to have all the omnis, not just omnipotent and omniscient and omnibenevolent. Must be omni-beautiful. What's beauty? Sanskrit's the same word. Rupa is beauty and form. Beauty is form. God has form. It's all over the place in the Old Testament. And then the early church fathers freaked out. Oh, everybody, the Greeks are laughing at us. Oh, we better borrow Greek philosophy. You know what Christianity is, my friends? It's the Bible with Aristotle and Plato grafted on. That's what it is. That's from the 3rd century onwards. The early church fathers, if that sounds like a exaggerated statement, I'm writing a book on it, so we'll see what happens when that comes out. So I do not desire wealth, followers, beautiful women, or poetic virtuosity. Only wish for bhakti for you, Ishvara, that is without any motive. The only motive is give me service, because love is service. Remember that. Love is service. If you love someone, you want to make them happy. It's just unfortunate that our word service comes with all kinds of baggage. And we think of service as, servitude and all of our colonialisms and genderisms and all of that. But the word in Sanskrit, seva, doesn't have any of that. Seva is used in the context of the relationship with God. So it doesn't have. We have one word in English, service, which can go either way. It can be divine or it can be abusive. But when we use the term in Sanskrit, it doesn't have any of the negative connotations. So service, and that's what bhakti is. Rupa defines it as service. You say, what is bhakti? What is bhakti? Right? It's just a word, bhakti. What does it mean? You say, oh, devotion. What the heck does that mean? Devotion. It means service. What does it practically mean? Service. You love someone, or even if you don't love someone, but you seek to love someone, like most of us, we don't have love, but we seek it, certainly for myself. If you seek you want to make friendship with somebody, what do? You serve that person. You show sincerity, and you do things to that person. You hope to attract that person's attention, even in our mundane world. So even if you don't have love, I don't have love of God, but I certainly seek that, and that's not a desire. That's seeking love of God. That we're supposed to do that. So then what do you do? Service. And that can be through puja, through so many different ways. Okay. That's what we're hoping to simply attract the attention of Bhagavan by our puny little offerings. Remember, Krishna says in Gita, anything, even a fruit, a flower, patram, pushpam, palam, toyam, water, any of those, if you do it with bhakti, I accept it. What is bhakti? Service. Service. Okay. It's defined that way. I'm going to mute everybody. And then we proceed. How do I do that? Participants. Yeah. No. Participants. Yeah. Mute all. Don't take it personally. All right. We're almost there. We'll have questions and answers. We don't need to rush. Okay. O son of Nanda, Krishna's father in the Vraj Leela. Here it is. Please consider me to be your servant, who has fallen into the dangerous ocean of samsara. It's dangerous, my friends. Anything can happen, and it does at any moment. We have no idea what kind of karma we're creating. We have no idea what karma we've lurking from past lives. We have no idea what our next life's going to be. Why aren't we, even from just a selfish, ignorant point of view, why aren't we afraid? Why aren't we afraid of karma? If the law of karma is true and real, it is just cause and effect, which is a universal principle. It's a very rational. It's rational to universalize cause and effect, because we see cause and effect in everything. Maybe even quantum mechanics. But get there in the end, they'll say, "Oh, there was a cause and effect after all." Why do we think human behavior is an exception? We don't know. Why aren't we afraid? When death, it could happen at any moment, and we just blithely go on. Why aren't we afraid of karma? Even forget about bhakti and yoga. Why aren't we just selfishly afraid of what possible futures lie? Because that can be a good motive, at least to be dharmic and pious and charitable and the rest of it. So I've fallen into this ocean of samsara, the dangerous ocean of samsara. Dangerous. Everything we do generates a reaction. Consider me to be like a speck of dust attached to your lotus feet. So Vaishnavas, they pray either to be more fallen than a blade of grass. That's a very common trope. And the other one is just to be dust attached to the feet of Krishna. I don't want to be, who am I? Who the hell do I think I am, that I'm going to be a gopi, or I'm going to be Nanda in the kingdom of God? I'm going to be a gopi. I'm going to develop gopi bhav. That's not exactly humble, is it? How about a speck of dust on the feet of Bhagavan? How about that be the meditation? How about that be an expression of humility? Because that's precisely what Śrī Caitanya is saying here. Consider me to be like a speck of dust attached to your lotus feet. And, we have a right to desire love. Because it's love of God. It's not selfish, it's not self-centered. And this is what we hanker for. As bhaktas, when will streams of tears pour from my eyes from chanting your name? Instead of sitting there, falling asleep and wondering what's in my email inbox. When will streams of tears pour from my eyes from chanting your name? When will my voice clog up and falter with emotion? These are the symptoms of a preliminary. Remember Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu? Preliminary symptoms. Sattvika bhavas and the anubhavas. And the streams of tears. When will my voice clog up and falter with emotion? When will my body appear with its hairs bristling in ecstasy? Because this is the real fruit of japa. If we can only chant that japa in that state of humility, my friends, that's the key. You don't have to be learned. You don't have to be a pundit. You don't have to be anything. You simply have to be humble and chant the name. Anyone can do it. In one sense, it's incredibly easy. In another sense, it's incredibly hard because of this, because we cling so desperately to our egos, to a false sense of self, and we want respect and we want adoration and we want, people to honor us, and we can't let that go. So this is the Śikṣāṣṭakam. It's all there. You don't need anything else. Don't have to read anything else. If you simply internalize, if we internalize these 8 verses, that's it. We attain perfection. All the rest of it, all the theology, that's all nice. Keeps the intellect active. If you have an intellectual disposition, then okay, you absorb that's a very nice way of absorbing the mind in ways that bring you closer to Bhagavan. All of that's wonderful and lovely, but really, you just need this. You just need a method. You need Bhagavan in the form of sound, and then you need to interact with that name in the appropriate mood. And the appropriate mood is this humility of considering yourself like a speck of dust or a blade of grass. My friends, let's make a commitment to do this. This is Sangha. In the absence of Govinda, the blinking of an eye seems like an entire yuga eon. Just blinking my eye when Krishna's not there, the universe is empty. And blinking of an eye seems like hundreds of millions of years. This is God, love of God in separation, in viraha bhakti. That God is not there. Where are you, Krishna? Where are you, Bhagavan? everything is meaningless. Everything is meaningless. There is no point in getting out of bed unless, other than to use the day to fix the mind on Bhagavan. But you get to that point. Oh, we got all these other dharmas and family and the rest of it, but none of that gives satisfaction to the heart. No, it doesn't give us the satisfaction we seek. None of it. Family, friends, relationships, all of that, duties. It's all dharma, it's all good stuff, but it doesn't fill the void of the heart. Only Bhagavan can do that, my friends. So in the absence of Govinda, the blinking of an eye seems like an entire, yuga, the 4 yugas. The eyes behave like the rainy season, always crying and weeping because the beloved is not there. And how true is this? About how many of us feel this in the morning? This entire universe appears empty. If you wonder why, depression is a good thing, actually, as long as you understand depression. We should be depressed unless we have a spiritual path. The world is empty. It's meaningless. It's utterly, stunningly meaningless. And all of our little trivial pleasures and relationships and projects, meaningless in the grand scheme of things. So only when Govinda is added, then all of a sudden, then meaning is everywhere. Then meaning is everywhere. Every second is a lesson. Every second brings us closer to Bhagavan. You've heard this kind of talk from the mystics, and it is so true, my friends. So this entire universe appears empty in the absence of Govinda, and not just physically Govinda, but if I forget, Narada says, what is Bhakti? The Narada Bhakti Sutras says, the Narada Bhakti Sutras, Narad, he wrote Bhakti Sutras, and he says, and he gives different definitions of Bhakti. What is Bhakti? And Vyas says it's, puja, and this other one says it's, whatever he says. And he says, what does Narada says? And Narada says it is always remembering Bhagavan and being intensely, what word does he use? Always remembering Bhagavan and being intensely remorseful when one forgets Bhagavan. When you suddenly realize, oh my God, I just spent the whole morning. I just did that. We had a whole department thing, and they were opening up a new position in Jain studies. I was trapped in my ego the whole morning, worried about how my interactions, how my coming. I completely forgot Bhagavan. It wasn't until I was in the truck on the way back and you become, Narada says, you become remorseful. That is good remorse, because you want to reset your intention. So where are we? I am devoted to Krishna's feet. This is a very powerful verse, my friends. He may embrace me or crush me. If you're a servant, if you've completely given yourself to Bhagavan, that you've given. That doesn't, you don't belong to yourself anymore. You belong to Bhagavan. He can do what he wants. He can appear, not appear, manifest, give you a little bhav moment, little kirtan, little ecstasy, little hair standing on it, and gone for 6 months. He can do anything he wants, my friend. That's the mindset of the bhakta. Or crush me. Or he may pierce my heart by not appearing before me or even appearing in the mind. That flirt, then it's Krishna Bhakti, when they say, the bhaktas, they have a very personal relationship with Bhagavan. That flirt, always running off with the gopis, that flirt, very hard to translate that word. Some people translate it as, I read a translation recently that someone says playboy, it's kind of 50s, outdated, it doesn't work. Somebody else translated as, what was it? Anyway, I didn't know what to do with it. I didn't want to, you'd have to be very careful, because if you translate it wrongly, it's going to give the wrong impression to somebody that doesn't understand Gopi Bhakti. But you have to translate it. Flirt. Very hard to do that respectfully, and at the same time honoring the sentiment, right? Where if you're a bhakta, the gopis chastise Krishna. You reciprocate, you stubborn one. Premanandaji sent me a t-shirt. We'll reciprocate, you obstinate one. Yashoda runs after him with a stick. This is Vraj Bhakti. Very personal. Your little Lala, if Lala, you'll tell him off. Little Bhagavan, that you don't do that with Ram. Don't even think about doing that with Devi. Don't be doing that with Narayana. Narayana is all Namaha, Namaha, Namaha. But Lala Gopal, you can do that. There he is, a flirt. That flirt may do as he pleases, but only he and no one else will remain the Lord of my life. This is Bhakti. Do whatever you want. Embrace me, crush me, pierce my heart. Don't appear before me. You're a big flirt. That's what I think of you. But only he and no one else will remain the Lord of my life. Okay, my friends, let's read it one more time. I won't say anything, and then we'll have then we can have questions and answers. May Krishna's Sankirtana be supremely triumphant. The chanting of the names of Krishna cleanses the mirror of the heart. It extinguishes the great forest fire of samsara. It bestows moonlight on the white night blooming lotus of supreme benefit. It gives life to the young bride of wisdom. It increases the ocean of bliss. It bestows the taste of the highest nectar at every step. It cleanses the mind completely. You have manifested many names and invested them with all your potency. There are no restrictions as to when to chant them. The only criteria is absorbing the mind in them. Despite this grace of yours, O Bhagavan, my misfortune is such that I was born in this world without any attraction for them. Okay, here it is. The name of Hari should always be chanted while considering oneself lower than a blade of grass, while being more tolerant than a tree. One should be free from any desire for personal respect, but one should offer respect to others. I do not desire wealth, followers, beautiful women, or poetic virtuosity, O Lord of the universe. I wish only for bhakti for you, Ishvara. What kind of bhakti? That is without any motive, birth after birth. I don't want moksha. If you want me to stay in this world, I stay in this world. But that's what I want. Bhakti, wherever I find myself. O son of Nanda, please consider me to be your service, who has fallen into the dangerous ocean of samsara. Consider me to be like a speck of dust attached to your lotus feet. As long as I'm attached, it doesn't matter. I'll be a speck of dust, as long as I remain attached there. When will streams of tears pour from my eyes from chanting your name? When will my voice clog up and falter with emotion? When will my body appear with its hairs bristling in ecstasy? Because then I'll know that I'm chanting, that I've attained humility, the necessary humility to chant, and that these will be the symptoms that will manifest. That will be the signs of my real humility. In the absence of Govinda, the blinking of an eye seems like an entire yuga aeon. The eyes behave like the rainy season, always weeping, and this entire universe appears empty. I'm devoted to Krishna's feet. He may embrace me or crush me, or he may pierce my heart by not appearing before him. Don't be complaining. Where are you, Bhagavan? Haven't you seen all the work, the savor I've done? That flirt, but you're allowed to call him a flirt, though. That flirt may do as he pleases, but only he and no one else will remain the Lord of my life. Śikṣāṣṭakam. So if you want a copy of this Śikṣāṣṭakam, if you have the blue book, and by that I mean the Bhakti Yoga blue book, it's in the back of that. Otherwise, Eleanor, would you be kind enough to, people can email you if they want to, and you can send it to them? Would you be willing to get inundated with emails for the next day or two?
Yeah, of course. Okay. But I can put it in the chat here also.
You can put the link there. That'd be excellent. Okay, my friends. So yeah, do we have any? Anybody want to? Any questions or comments or your own? Anything you want to offer? What should we do? Do you want to put hands up, or how do you want to do this? Okay, so we got Rhonda. We'll replace Pin. Rhonda.
Hi, just a quick question. I was just curious, on verse number 2, in the last that O Bhagavan, my misfortune is such that I was born in the world without any attraction for them.
Yeah.
Is he talking about the names of God? He was born without that attraction?
Yes.
Okay.
In other words, why aren't we crying, right? He says it later on. He says, when will streams of tears pour from my eyes from chanting? Meaning right now, that's not happening. When will my voice clog up and falter with emotion? When will my hairs bristle? Well, that means we don't have the real taste for them yet. So we're born. We don't, if we really had a taste, if we really were able to develop this humility and chant in that state of humility, like a blade of grass, we would be experiencing that. So therefore, why are we not experiencing it? Because I was born in this world without any attraction for them.
Would we then assume that that's also saying some people are born with the attraction?
Well, I mean, there may be souls who are born with an attraction, but that's only because they did the work in a past life. That there's no magic. So if somebody has this kind of prema, remember the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, they've done Vedic Bhakti. Bhava and prema comes from Vedic Bhakti, and if he didn't do much Vedic Bhakti in this life, well, he did it in a past life. It doesn't just self-manifest.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so but then here's your, this is our Q&A moment session. Mary Jane, want to say something, Mary Jane? Anybody?
I have a question.
Yeah.
So when you were talking about the chants or the mantras for japa, where would the Gayatri mantra fit in that? Would it be suitable for japa?
Well, there's nothing wrong with it, but it's remember let's look at the text. It has to be a name of Bhagavan. Japa is the name of Bhagavan, right? So, you meaning Bhagavan Krishna, have manifested many names, the names of Bhagavan. Now, the Gayatri mantra is kind of like an old Vedic mantra. It's actually, it's quite interesting how it gets translated in weird ways. When I say weird ways, in modern ways, it's a hymn to the Vivasvan, the celestial of the sun. People, kind of render it into the inner light within and all. That's not what it meant at all. It's the three, the three dimensions, this planet, this sort of earthly realm, celestial realm. Svaha tat savitor. The savitor is the sun god, Vivasvan. Varenyam, the sort of the radiance. Bhargo, it's another name of the sun god. Dhiyo yona prachodayat, inspire our intelligence. Now, I know modern sort of neo-Vedantins, and that's nothing wrong with that. They kind of, that sounds a bit weird for most Westerners, sun god. And I can understand how sort of some of the modern gurus want to give a kind of a Vedantic reinterpretation of it. Nothing wrong with that at all. But that's what it really is in the Vedic period, in the pre-modern period. So that's a sattvicizing mantra, but it's not a name of Bhagavan. It's an invocation to the sun god and requesting Savitri to inspire our intelligence. So it's not, so it wouldn't be the same. It's not a japa mantra. Traditionally, it would never be considered obviously in modernity, everything, things come to the West, and what I'm saying is pre-modern. In pre-modern Bhakti traditions, the Gayatri mantra is not a japa mantra. It's a nice Vedic mantra. It certainly is auspicious. It certainly, sattvicizes the mind, but it isn't japa. It's not a japa mantra.
Okay, thank you.
I'm not saying you won't find somebody, presenting it that way, but that's a sort of modern thing. Yeah. And it's not supposed to be recited out loud. Like There's some hardcore right-wing, fanatical, what we might call right-wing, Brahmin, Dharma Shastra texts. If a Sudra, we're all Sudras, all of us. We're not even Sudras. We're outside of the caste system. We're Mlechas and Yavanas. If a Sudra hears the Gayatri Mantra, you pour red hot lead in his ear. You want some right-wing Hinduism? Well, I got some verses for you. Gautama Dharma Shastra. I don't know what anger management problems Gautama had, but he that's the sort of thing you'll find in Gautama Dharma Shastra. But anyway, yeah. So Gayatri Mantra, yeah. Thank you. Yeah, Stacy. Okay. Any other questions, or you want to follow up on that, Nancy?
You had written me a response to a question I had last December. And I just happened to pull that up. You say, we were talking about japa, and you said, if you wish, you said that there are two of them that you use, one with your tradition. And you said, if you wish, I can record these mantras for you on Zoom and show you how I do japa. So I think we probably all know just from the kirtan, the one of your tradition. And then the other one was the Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Yeah.
So could you do those?
Yeah.
Since we're recording? And then you also said, and I can show you how I do japa. I bet I'm not the only one that wants to know.
Okay. Japa. All right. So this is actually where I sit in the morning. So because it's the fire is there, and up yesterday we had the fire on still. So so you don't have to, typically this is a japa. So, okay, so you want to see this. So you don't necessarily have, you don't need this, but typically, it's nice to have, I don't know, I've been doing this for 45 years, so I'm just used to it. And it has a little bag, you don't need that either. And for some reason, I've never found out why. It has a little hole, you put your finger through. If you want to really do it, according to the Vaidhi, you hold it like this because it's not supposed to touch your genitals. Babas will say, we'll have all these little rules. None of that. Remember Chaitanya? What did he say? There are no, just let's remind ourselves of that. Let's just go back to that verse before I do this. There are no restrictions. There are no restrictions as to when to chant them. Okay, here, the only criteria is absorbing the mind in them. So you don't, all of this, I'm talking about bags and fingers and all that. None of that's relevant. Obviously, it's not. I just happened to live many years in Vrindavan, so I picked up that kind of a culture. Okay, so, but there is one criteria, and that's the Patanjali and Chitta Vritti Nirodha. There's a great verse in the Gita, which is Yata Yata Nischarati Manas Chanchalam Astiram Tatastato Niyam Yetat Atmanyeva Visham Nayat. Wherever the mind wanders, Yata Yata Nischarati Manas, the mind, wherever it wanders, what kind of a mind? Chanchalam, it's always going. Astiram, never fixed. Tatastato Niyam Yetat, just bring it back. Okay. So two rules. So that's the Nirodha rule. The Nirodha rule is not that the mind is going to be Nirodha, my friends. Good luck with that. In a few decades, perhaps, maybe next life, in some future life. But for most of us, we're still at the level of dharana. Certainly I am. Maybe some of you are not. I speak for myself. So what do we do when the mind wanders and you realize it's wandered? You bring it back. That's it. So that rule, and then the other one is what we just read, which is more humble than a blade of grass. Okay, so you sit, and then all of that asana. This is when it kicks in, my friends, because then you want to sit with a straight back, open chest, all of that asana. This is the moment where it's really meaningful in bhakti. And why do you want to sit like this so you don't fall asleep? It's quite nothing more than that. Nothing more esoteric than that. How esoteric is that? You don't fall asleep. So you sit like this, and then I'll do it. You can do some pranayama, and nothing, just don't let that be. Just don't let your mind get distracted by all this, by the pranayama and the asana. You should have done that work on the mat over the years. And then the out breath. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare. Your mind wanders off, you simply bring it back. Don't tell yourself the story, I can't do this. You bring it back and you Narodaha it, but remember, it's not mechanical. Patanjalian practice can be mechanical. You want to do it with love, with feeling. You're pining for Bhagavan. You want to do it with this sort of mood here. You want to chant like this. First of all, thinking yourself lower than a blade of grass. Fine, but if you really want success, right? So let's just read it again, and I'll go back to the chanting. Should be chanted, right? How do you chant it? Obviously you're not chittavrittiing. You're not sort of actively saying, I am a blade of lower than a blade of grass. No, you should just be in that mood. That mood of complete surrender and feeling of helplessness and lowliness, but in a nice way, in a beautiful way, a lowliness that you're offering to your Bhagavan, your lowliness. You're trusting your best friend, Bhagavan, with your lowliness. You're recognizing that how lowly we are, my friends. We can't do anything. We have no control of anything, right? With all of this kind of very humble mood, more tolerant. So you should be doing that. And at the same time pining, but not in an active chittavritti sort of way, but you're pining in this sort of way. When will streams of tears pour from my eyes? So you want that love. You want Bhagavan to manifest in the name, because you want to unite with Bhagavan. And how do you know, and what are the symptoms of that? Well, all these tears and everything else. Okay, so, but none of that is active. You're not praying. It's Narodaha. But it's a mood. You can Narodaha in a mechanical, artificial, ego way. Mind come back. Come back. Not like that. You're doing it with love, with feeling, with surrender, with humility, all of these things. Internalize the Śikṣāṣṭakam, my friends. Internalize it. Read it again and again and again. And then japa. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama. Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. If you want, we could do 5 minutes of japa together at the end of this session. But that's, so in other words, so Sankirtana is when you're doing it congregationally, you're chanting. But japa is only you hear it. And it's a sound, some people talk about doing it internally, and fine. There are, you could do it internally, but the word jap in Sanskrit means to repeat something, to repeat it. It's a sound. It's the sound. Okay, fair enough. Some people theologize it as the inner sound. And okay, you can make a case like that, and some do it that way. But Chaitanya and all the great exemplars of Bhakti, when they chanted, it was a sound vibration, not a mental vritti. It wasn't a vritti sound. It was a sound vibration, and that goes way back to the Vedic that idea of a sonic vibration, it has pervaded India culture and that does go back to the very, very earliest Vedic recitations. Of course, the intention was different in Vedic ritualism. I'm not saying it was bhakti, no, at least not this sort of bhakti, but the idea of sound and divine presence in sound has pervaded. So I would recommend that you do this and listen to it, and just enough so that you can hear it. No, it shouldn't be anybody else. That's japa, my friends. And that is, if you want to practice, you want to be a genuine, grounded in tradition, trans-sectarian, trans-historical, trans-temporal. You want to have some security, or it's not just some little sect or some little guru who comes up with some new idea where that all seems very wobbly and very uncertain. How about we find something all the traditions accept and have accepted for 3,000 years? Maybe that gives it a little bit of reliability. Well, let's japa then. So give it a go. What are you waiting for? Chaitanya says, there is no other process in the age of Kali. And he quotes the Brihadara, he quotes the, I don't know, Kali Santara, some text. Harinama, 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 where you repeated it 3 times. The name of Hari, the name of Hari, the name of Hari. Harinama, Harinama, Harinama eva kevalam. Only that. Kalo, in the age of Kali. Na asti eva, na asti eva, na asti eva. There is not, there is not, there is not. Gatir anyata, any other method. That is Chaitanya's proclamation. That's his declaration that in this age of Kali, but he's not sectarian. He you know, some of his followers are, but he's not. Look at this. Look at this. You have manifested many names. You know, Allah, you know, the Jesus prayer. You've manifested many names, and you've invested them with all your potency, not half, not, okay, this one's better than that one. Find your Lord of the heart. Find your Bhagavan. And take the name of that Lord. For me, it's Govinda, it's Gopala. I can't do anything about it. That flirt. It's all in that. He does make me brokenhearted all the time. I'm always whining about, where are you, Bhagavan? So, any other questions, my friends? Try it. Try japa. What is the big deal? I can understand resistance to puja. I get that. Especially coming from Abrahamic traditions, the graven image, we have all this big, huge 2,000-year-old samskara. Thou shalt not work, 10 commandment, worst thing you can do. Other gods before me, graven image. Right, branded into our Western, theological history. Big, graven, idol, go to hell. I can understand resistance to puja. But what the heck is the problem with japa? I mean, the Muslims have 99 names of Allah. At least they are able to recognize this verse right here, that you have so many names. So what exactly is the problem with taking it? I mean, surely, rather than some practice that some little isolated practice of one little tradition and exclusive, or some guru comes up with some new thing, why should you put your money on that? Why not go for something that's universal, that's trans-historical, that's trans-geographical, that's trans-temporal? Isn't that a better investment, my friends? And that's what japa is. What's the problem? Get up in the morning and sit on a mat and chant japa for 20 minutes. Is that going to kill you? And even if you don't believe in Bhagavan, no one's going to die. I mean, a neurologist would tell you it's good for it calms the brain. Even on the most materialistic level, there's plenty of research that it calms the brain. So even if you don't, all of this Bhagavan and Krishna, I can't deal with all of that. Fine. Calm the brain then. Put the bar down, put it down, calm the brain. And take a nice mantra, a name of Bhagavan. If you don't believe in Bhagavan, then what do you care then? If you don't believe in Bhagavan, then it's just a sound then. What's the problem with that? Then take a name and it's just a sound, fine. Chant it then. And the very least it'll make the brain calm. And then see what happens. Because the name will have its own, you're thinking one thing and the name's doing something else. So it gets into your mind. This is Bhagavan. He's a trickster. He's a flirt. He's a trickster too, isn't he? Swamiji. He's a trickster. Remember that. He's a thief. Is Govinda. A flirt and a thief. So you never know what will happen if you allow him into your mind.
He steals your heart.
Exactly. Do we have any more questions or comments or?
I have a question. Namaste. Thank you for teaching this class from top to bottom. It was perfect. I don't like to use that word, but very motivating, inspirational. And my question is, Nancy mentioned another mantra, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Yeah. What would be the difference in chanting that one versus the one that you just did, the Maha Mantra?
None at all, none at all. It's just that I'm initiated into an orthodox Vaishnava lineage, and if you take initiation in a formal lineage, then you take the whole package of the lineage. So you take the form that the lineage worships, you take the puja specifics of the lineage, you take the mantra of the lineage, you take the canonical text of the lineage. But absolutely no, we just read that Chaitanya says that all of these names have all of the potency, and I think it's a beautiful mantra. I mean, if I wasn't part of that lineage, I'd go with Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. I kind of like it personally. I find it, I think it really, and also Om Namo Narayanaya. Here's another little thing. If you feel like you have a connection with Guruji Iyengar, or because normally the mantra is given to you by a guru. It doesn't have to be. But really practically on the ground, real life bhakti in India, you get the mantra from the guru. Now, if you feel, okay, I don't have a guru, let's say you say, oh, I don't have a guru. But if you feel like someone like Krishna Macharya or Guruji and Guruji or Guruji Iyengar, if you feel, okay, I don't really have a guru, but these are people I kind of have, at least I accept them in some sort of a guru-esque sort of way, then the mantra of that tradition is Om Namo Narayanaya. If you think, okay, I don't know which mantra to take, this one, because it's not like it's not like Ben and Jerry, where you go and you say, okay, can I have a little spoon of, mint chocolate chip? And I don't like that one. Can I have the butterscotch? It's not really like that. So if you want to feel like you're getting it from a guru type figure in your life, and if Krishna Macharya maybe fits that place, or Guruji Iyengar, then the mantra would be Om Namo Narayanaya. There's no reason why you can't take that. Om Namo Narayanaya. But Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya is Krishna. Narayana is kind of God on high. It's God in full majesty. It's God on the golden throne with the seraphims and the angels and the hallelujahs, and that God of the Old Testament, in the good God, not the angry guy who was a little bit genocidal. No, not that one. But then the sort of God on high, with that God is not. It exactly maps onto Narayana, majestic. So if you like majesty and God on highness, then Om Namo Narayanaya is a beautiful mantra. But if your thing, for us Krishna bhaktas, we just adore that same Narayana when he hides that majesty and he comes as a flirtatious, mischievous, little impish, beautiful little Lala Gopal. So then we want a mantra that reflects that. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya is halfway in between. It's not God on high in the same way as Narayana, but it's not little Lala Gopal either. It's kind of, Krishna with, kind of the Krishna of the Gita, because it's got Bhagavan in there. Bhagavan in the date is Bhagavate. So that mantra is recognizing that this is Bhagavan. Now, in Vraj Bhakti, you don't recognize the Bhagavan. Remember Yogamaya. So Bhagavan hides the majesty. Now you don't want any Bhagavan. You want little Lala Gopal, and if he's mischievous, you're gonna come up and run after him with a little stick. And so that you don't want the name Bhagavan in your mantra if you have that mood. So these mantras reflect, they all have different moods. So for us Krishna Bhaktas, then we follow in the line of Śrī Caitanya. We take the name of, it's got Rama in there, but some, so then that raises the question, why is the name Rama in there? Of course, then some Chaitanya people will say that's Balaram, not Rama of the Ramayana. Anyway, let's not get complicated. But yeah, if you like Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, then it's a really wonderful mantra. And there's nothing wrong with a little bit of majesty. Because Gopal, the Vraj Bhakti is something that, it takes a certain amount of surrender. In the beginning, it's good to have a little bit of aura majesty in that relationship with Bhagavan. Otherwise, it cheapens things. But once one enters into that, then this more familiar kind of familiarity that's specific to Krishna Bhakti, Vraj Bhakti. You don't find it in other forms of Bhakti, where you drop that majesty, that spontaneously, you can't fake that or artificially imagine that. It spontaneously manifests in the mind, where you don't see your Bhagavan as God on high anymore. He's your little Lala. That's a beautiful thing about Vraj Bhakti. But any mantra, Diane, yes. And if for some reason Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, it's a wonderful place to start. And it's a Krishna mantra. Yeah. Because Vasudeva is the name of Krishna. He's the son of Vasudev, and so the son of Vasudev is Vasudev. And Om Namo Bhagavate is the dative of Bhagavan. So when you put Bhagavan into the dative case, two, then the Bhagavan becomes Bhagavate in Sanskrit grammar. And Vasudeva becomes Vasudevaya. Aya is dative, like Shivaya, Narayanaya. So the Aya indicates the dative case. If you've ever wondered why is it Shivaya if his name is Shiva, well, the Aya is the dative case. Not all nouns take Aya, only masculine ending nouns. Don't worry about that. Any other questions, my friends?
You have
I have a
Snehi
question.
there.
Snehi,
May I ask a question?
Yes, of course you may.
When you were talking earlier and you were saying how sometimes in sadhana it becomes like sheer tapas and there's no bhava, no rasa.
Yeah.
So I was wondering.
I know it very well. Trust me. Yeah.
So I'm going through that phase. So I was wondering if you had some advice.
Yes. I do, Snehi. Are you in your daughter's bedroom?
No, I'm in my bedroom.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's quite lovely. Here, this is the advice. The name of Hari should always be chanted while considering oneself lower than a blade of grass and while being more tolerant than a tree. One should be free from any desire for personal respect, but yet one should offer respect to others. It's all there, Snehi. It's all there. So take that verse and internalize it, remember it, memorize it, learn it in Sanskrit, walk around repeating it to yourself, and try to do japa in that mood. There's nothing to add to that. I have nothing I can add to that. And that applies to me. There's so often that I just get up and I force myself, and then as soon as I can go check email, I'll run off and check email. There are days like that. But then those are days when I'm not in that mood.
Mm.
So
do you have a copy of the Sanskrit version you can share with us? Should I email you and just ask you?
Is it not in the back of this? No. I don't actually have it, but we can hunt it down. Maybe Eleonora can help us hunt it down.
Okay.
With the Sanskrit, Eleonora, do you think you could work some magic? She's good at Eleonora's really good at finding things like that. Yeah, no, let's memorize it.
Not right now.
Yeah.
I don't have it. I know I don't have it.
You don't have it. We can find it. Where is Eileen? Eileen, are you still there?
No, she made a note that she had to leave early.
Of course. All right.
I had found it earlier and I put it in the chat.
Okay. So it's in the chat then.
Okay.
There you go.
Thank you.
Let's both do it, because I also have to really go much more deeper into that verse number 3. I've been trapped by my pride for too long, and it's not, and we're getting old. How long? When are we going to finally do this? Or finally give up this ahankara? We got, it's a serious business. I'm 65. There's no magic wand. We have to do this. We have to do this.
Oops, I put the wrong one in there, but I'll find it later.
Oh, okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Sneh. Nice to see you. Zolt, are you still in touch with
Bob?
Yeah.
Yeah, very much so.
Okay.
And I've been meaning to say, I love, for everyone who has not attended Professor Bryant's classes, they're amazing. I still want to schlep down.
Yeah, it was so much fun when you and Bob. Anyway, give him my regards.
I will.
Yeah. Zoltan.
Yes, hello.
Hi,
Zoltan. First of all, thank you for the teachings.
You're very welcome.
And my question is, you mentioned that Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya is a Krishna mantra.
Yeah.
But the Vishnu Purana starts with the same mantra.
Yeah. That's
so,
okay. Vishnu Purana.
Yes.
Go ahead. I'm sorry I interrupted you.
So for me, the Vishnu Purana is, I like it more because it has more of a Advaita and Vishishtadvaita approach of it.
Yeah.
And but even in that, Krishna's name mentioned even before the 5th chapter.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit strange, this version. Or what do you know about this version of the Vishnu Purana?
Yeah, but the Vishnu Purana is identical to the Bhagavata Purana. It's just it has more or less the same stories, more or less the same subject matter. The only difference is that the Vishnu Purana, Vishnu is the ultimate being, and Krishna is an incarnation. Whereas in the Bhagavatam, Krishna is the ultimate being, and then when Krishna wants to, when creation is needed, then Krishna manifests Vishnu. So but otherwise they're identical. So the Vishnu Purana honors the name of Krishna. It accepts Krishna as Vishnu. It just, for the Vishnu Purana, Krishna is Vishnu, but Vishnu, when he wants to incarnate, he incarnates as Krishna or Rama or whatever. So there's it would absolutely, so it would, recommend Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, and maybe it has Om Namo Narayanaya as well. The Bhagavatam has 2 mantras. It doesn't have the Hare Krishna mantra. The Bhagavata Purana, which is the canonical text for the Krishna tradition, it has 2 mantras mentioned 3 times each. And one is Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, same thing, and one is Om Namo Narayanaya. So the Hare Krishna mantra comes from Chaitanya. In the 15th century, it's not found in the so Vishnu Purana and Bhagavata Purana are identical. And I would say it's much more of a Vishishtadvaita text than an Advaita text. I know you can read it through an Advaita lens, but if you it's really much more. In fact, it is the canonical text for the Ramanuja and the Vishishtadvaita tradition. So the Sri Vaishnava tradition, Ramanuja wrote a commentary on the Vedanta Sutra because when he wants to be a philosopher and he wants to give respectability to the tradition. Sure, then you have to write a commentary on the Vedanta Sutra. So he did that. It was his dharma. That was kind of like, oh, fine. He's acting as a theologian. But when in his personal space, Vishnu Purana. So that's Vishishtadvaita. He's reading, for him, he's a Vishishtadvaita. Bhagavan is real. The world is real. The soul is individual. It's not Advaita. So, but anyway, there's nothing unusual. What is unusual about why the Vishnu Purana is Vishnu, who is Krishna. So it's perfectly in harmony with that, with the Vishnu Purana for that mantra to be there.
this is why I found it a little bit controversial, because you might think it would be start with the Om Namo Narayanaya if it's more Vishnu than Krishna, but it still starts with Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
What can you do? Everybody loves Krishna. I don't have a good answer for that. I can't answer that. Yeah, but I would imagine you would find Om Namo Narayanaya in it. Do you not? You do in the Bhagavatam. I tell you where. The story of Gajendra the elephant, when he offers up he's fighting with the crocodile and he offers up the flower to Vishnu, then he chants Om Namo Narayanaya. That's one place. Anyway, there's two places, at least in the Bhagavatam. And the Vishnu Purana has the same stories.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, my friends, we have any more? Do we have any more? I hope you all, do japa. Don't expect any magic wands. And if you're not getting the rasa, then just remember the reason why. This is the reason why. The name of Hari. If your hair isn't standing on end, if tears are not flowing from the eye, if your hair isn't bristling in ecstasy, then this is the reason. Considering oneself lower than a blade of grass. This is humility. My friends, I said it. I love it. I love this phrase. I'm going to repeat it. This is the key to the kingdom of God. And Jesus Christ would be in complete harmony with this, with the rich man and the camel. Considering oneself lower than a blade of grass. We can get that. Blade of grass is an Atman, same as us. Just karmically got somehow stuck in that form. And we should be thinking of ourselves, we got the human form and we're wasting it. We got the human form and we're wasting it running around after nonsense desires. Despite the fact they never have satisfied and they never will, and they cannot, by their very metaphysical nature, cannot satisfy. They can only tickle our bodies and minds. They can only stimulate the external sheaths. They can never satisfy. So we're worse than a blade of grass because we've been given the human form of life and we're wasting it without seeking Bhagavan with this level of intensity, my friends. So let us all be a Sangha. I've known some of you for 20 years. Let's keep our relationships going for this life. Let's encourage each other as our hairs get white. Hairs are not standing up on in ecstasy. They're going white. That's what's happening. Let's be encourage each other. Let's study these texts. Let's do our japa. That's the lifeline. Notice he doesn't say anything about studying, the 64 principles we studied with Rupa, studying Shastra, all of the 64, living in Vrindavan, all of those things. But what's Chaitanya saying? His guru, Rupa's guru, is saying, look, just the name. The name is the quintessential major, you remember Rupa says, do any one of them? Well, if you have to choose one, then Chaitanya, this is the indispensable one, is japa. The names of Krishna, the names of Hari. My friends, just take the name. What else are you going to do? Watch telly? All right. So if we don't have any other questions, anyone else? Last chance. Then I bid you good night. And we'll meet you again late summer. I'll be in the UK. I don't know, so I'd have to see if we want to do it late summer or in September when I get back. Anybody happens to be passing through the Isle of Wight, come and visit. I'll be there most of the summer. Otherwise, I bid you good evening. Jai Sri Radhe Shyam. Have a great evening, my friends. I'm glad we did this. I'm so glad because I really I'm at this moment in my life where I really need to internalize that verse number 3. Can we just read it one last time, one for the road? The name of Hari, right? And what's that name of Hari? You have manifested many names and invested them all with your, invested them with all your potency. So the name of Hari means many names of Hari. So one of these many names of Hari, how do we chant it? How do we do japa? Well, we can sit there like and put on an external show like I just did, right? Sit on a mat, stick your backbone up, put your hand up like this, right? That's not what we're reading about here. What are we saying? What are we reading here? We should be chanted while considering. This is it, my friends. We worry about pronunciation and all. No, considering oneself lower than a blade of grass. Let's just leave it there. We won't even fix just that bit. Considering oneself lower than a blade of grass, more tolerant than a tree, free from any desire for personal respect, but yet one should offer respect to others. Take that home with you, internalize that, tattoo it on your back, on your front. Tattoo. You wanted to get a tattoo. How about we tattoo that one? And let's try to keep that in mind and hope that our japa will one day, our hairs will bristle and tears will pour from our eyes. I have no doubt that is there if we can really become humble. Have a great evening, my friends. Jai Shri Ram.
Thank you so much.
Thank
you. Jai Shri Ram.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Thanks
you.
to Ellen for the file.
Thank you.
Good night. Not yet.
Good night.
Thank you for all the resources.
Yeah, good. Yeah, take advantage. Learn Sanskrit. Go on the website.
Yes. Thank you.
Before Rutgers, get in trouble. I get in trouble and tell me to take it all down. They say, hey, you can't put that up there. Have a great evening. Take care. Bye-bye.